Okay, well, welcome everyone to How PubMed Works. My name is Margie Shepard. I'm with the NNLM Training Office, and with us today is my colleague Lauren Whittick. Lauren will be sharing links and monitoring the chat. We are also joined by Amanda Sawyer from the National Library of Medicine, and Amanda is here to answer any questions that you might have about PubMed, and we also have additional support from Margot Malachowski from Region 7. So before I really get into the session, I just have a few things I want to cover. First of all, to access closed captioning, go ahead and scroll down to the bottom of the Zoom screen and click on CC to start the live stream. All attendees have been muted to cut down on background noise, but we do welcome your questions and comments, so please make sure to post comments to everyone in chat and use the Q&A for questions. We'll pause at a couple points along the way to address questions live. We're recording today's session, and it takes about 2 weeks to edit and caption the video. We'll send the recording link to all registrants once it's available. We also have a handout to share, and Lauren will be adding a link to it in the chat. So feel free to open this and use it as we go along, or to hold on to it for future reference. And finally, at the end of today's session, we will provide a link to the evaluation with instructions on how to claim MLACE. And we appreciate your feedback because we use it to improve future webinars just like this one. So let's go ahead and get started. So this webinar, PubMed Introduction, is the first in a series of 3 about PubMed. It's designed to give you a tour and introduction to PubMed features. PubMed is a free online research database developed by the U.S. National Library of Medicine, known as NLM. NLM is one of the National Institutes of Health, and it's funded by U.S. tax dollars. It's also the largest biomedical library in the world. PubMed is one of the largest and most comprehensive databases of biomedical journal literature in the world, and we are here to show you how it works. So let's take a look at our agenda. So we'll start with an introduction to the PubMed database, what it is and what you can find in it, and then we'll explore PubMed features together and discover how to accomplish some of the most common PubMed tasks. And then finally, we'll look at how to get help should you need it. So let's talk about PubMed. So PubMed is the National Library of Medicine's free database of more than 40 million citations for articles in the fields of biomedicine and health. It's used by over 3.5 million unique users from around the world each day, and that includes clinicians, researchers, students, librarians, and many more. So what are some of the ways that you can use PubMed? Well, you can use it to find a specific research article based on some known information that you have about the article. You can use PubMed to find articles written by a specific author. And you can use PubMed to familiarize yourself with a topic. And because of its vast scope, you can also take a deep dive into a wide variety of topics. PubMed even has patient education handouts, and I'll show you how to add that filter later. So, users frequently ask, does PubMed have full text articles? Well, technically, PubMed is a database of citations, not a database of full text articles. That said, 75% of PubMed citations link to full text, but not all full text articles are free. Some links take you to a publisher's website, which may require a subscription or possibly a one-time fee for the article access. However, when a publisher provides free full text access, that link will be included in PubMed. And when available, PubMed includes links to free full text from PubMed Central, also known as PMC. PMC is NLM's free full-text repository. PMC was created in response to the NIH public access policy that was adopted by the United States Congress in 2009. The policy says that any publications that come out of research supported by an NIH grant must be made available to the public for free. So, if someone asked you if PubMed was a database of free full-text articles, what would you say? Let me know in the chat, please. All right, we're getting a lot of no's in the chat, and that is absolutely correct. No is what we teach in this class because PubMed is a database of citations to articles. Full text in PubMed is not always available, nor is it always free. So let's talk about how to use PubMed and some of the built-in features. So one of the most common ways PubMed is used to locate a specific article, and it's based on some known information that you might have about the article. So for instance, let's say that you come across a news story like the one on the slide. So this is a story from 2025, published by National Public Radio, and it reports on research that discusses the side effects of antidepressant drugs. The online story included a link back to the original research article, but that isn't always the case. So let's say you are looking at a paper and you might see listed in a reference section a particular article that you're interested in, or maybe you hear about research on the news or social media. So with the little bit of information that we have, let's see if we can find this article. So what do we know about our original article? Well, I've highlighted a few clues on the slide. So we know that it was published in the journal called Lancet. The NPR story is from October 23rd, 2025. So it's probably an article from that year. And the lead author is Toby Pillinger, a psychiatrist at King's College in London. And quite honestly, with these three bits of information, this should be enough for us to find the article very easily in PubMed. So now I'm going to shift over to PubMed and let's see what we can find. So if you want to, you can open another browser. You can use your phone and work along with me. Otherwise, you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Oops. Okay. So again, if you want to put this into your browser, it's pubmed.gov. So just go ahead and go there now, and we'll get started. Okay, so one of the key design features of PubMed are the sensors that are built into the search box. And here's the search box located prominently at the top of the page. And when I say sensors, that's sensors with an S. There's a citation sensor as well as a title sensor. PubMed sensors will analyze your search terms and try to detect exactly what you're looking for. So if you have the title of an article, you can place the whole title into the search box and PubMed should be able to pull it up for you. But if you don't have the title, you can enter what you know. So in this case, we know the author's last name, the journal title, as well as the year. So PubMed's citation sensor should detect that we've entered some basic citation information, and that will help us find the article we're looking for. So if you're following along, go ahead and type 2025 Lancet and Pillinger into the PubMed search box and click search. And this is search example A on your handout. Okay. All right, so what we're seeing now is the search results page, and PubMed calls this the summary view. Uh, we see at the very top this blue alert bar that says one article found by citation matching. PubMed's citation sensor uses a fuzzy matching algorithm to find citations that might be a match for the article that we're looking for. So in this case, PubMed thinks this one right here is the perfect match. PubMed also runs our search normally, and that gives us an alternative set of results. And you can see those below what PubMed thinks is our article. And this is done just in case we're actually looking for something else. So we're going to come back to the rest of what's on the results page in a little bit. But for right now, I'm going to click right over here to go back up to the top, and let's explore our result example a little more thoroughly. So now we're in what PubMed calls the abstract view. So we have some basic citation information at the top. So for instance, here's the title. We see all the author information. There's the journal title, etc. So one really cool thing is if we hover our mouse over the journal title, the full title will display. So in this case, we see that Lancet is the full title of this journal. So right to the right of the journal title is the date, the volume issue, and the page range. Right below that, we have the full article title located right here. Immediately to the right of the full title, you'll find links to full text located right here, and that is if and when they exist. So this citation has a link to the publisher's website where they provide access to the article for free. So you might also see a library's icon right below the journal title here. And if your library participates in library link out using outside tools, it will be located right there. So right below the title, we see author information. So the list can sometimes be quite long with hundreds of authors and collaborators. So each author, you might notice right here, has a number assigned to them right to the right of their name. And this number indicates their affiliation. So just below this big list, we see affiliations. The affiliation section, it's indicated by a plus sign. So this allows us to expand the section so you can see all the affiliations that are represented by the number next to the author's name. So let's go ahead and collapse that. And I want to point out too a really important number here, and that is the PMID. So it's located right here below the authors and affiliation expand section. So this is also called the PubMed identifier. And this is a unique number, and every citation in PubMed has one. And this happens to be the answer to number 1 on your handout. One really nice thing about PMIDs is that you can always find the citation if you have the number by typing it into the search box and clicking on search. Another great feature, one thing I need to point out too is don't include the letters PMID, just the numbers, because if you do add those letters, PubMed won't be able to locate the citation. Another great thing about PMIDs is that you can enter multiple PMIDs into the search window at the same time. You just need to separate them with a space. So let's say you have someone that comes to your library that has this whole list of PMIDs that someone shared with them. This is a really great tip that you can give to them to help them locate these articles with one search. To the right of the PMID, you'll see the DOI, or the Digital Object Identifier. Again, you don't need to tag it, just enter the number into the search box. And in the case of this DOI, it happens to be linked out to the Lancet where we can find the journal article as well. And that isn't always the case, but in this instance it is. So good thing to know about that. You'll also see the words free article, and that just gives you a tip that there's a free article that's available for this particular abstract. So right below this PMID, we have the abstract, and that tells you everything about this article. It's like what it's about, all the findings, etc. Most articles in PubMed will have an abstract as long as it's provided by the publisher. So if you encounter an article or citation that doesn't have one, it means that the publisher didn't provide it, and PubMed does not create one. So to let you know why that could be the case. Another great feature of this page is over here on the right side. And you see where it says page navigation. So this is a really great way to easily jump through all the sections on this page without scrolling. Every citation does have a page navigation section, but the subsections within here might be different depending on what's in the abstract. So you'll see, substances, here's the mesh terms, here's title and authors, which takes us back up to the top. A really popular feature in this page navigation is similar articles. So let's go ahead and click on it and see what happens. So you see it jumped us down to the section, and similar articles is a list that's generated by an algorithm, and it's based on terms from the abstract, the title, as well as medical subject headings. So it's designed to bring in other citations that are very similar to the one that you're looking at. So by default, PubMed displays 5 articles, but you can see right below this list, it says see all similar articles located right here. So by clicking on that, you can expand the list. So we do have a link on our handout about how PubMed identifies similar articles if you're interested in learning more about that. So there might also be a list of articles that cite the article that you're looking at. Some of the newly published articles out there may not include this feature, but when an article does include that, it will be located under page navigation. So you can see that this one has that feature. So let's go ahead and click on that now and see what happens. Okay, so cited by is generated using data submitted by publishers and other NCBI resources when available. Just like the similar articles, PubMed will display the first 5 articles, and if there's more, there will be a link that says see all cited articles. But I want to just give you a note of caution about that. Cited by may not be a complete list of works, so it's always good to continue to do a little bit more research on your own. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here to the top, and I want to jump into another citation just for a moment, just to show you what it looks like in comparison to this one. We will come back to our abstract view in a little while, but let's go ahead and take a peek here and see what happens. So if you're following along with me, type in the PMID number 318-604-57. Okay, so there are a lot of similarities to the first article, but there's one pretty big difference here that's good to note. So to the left of the title of the journal, you'll see a tag, and that indicates the type of article that this is. So in this case, this article reports on the results of a comparative study. So not every article will have a tag, but PubMed will highlight the commonly looked for publication types, such as reviews, clinical trials, or a case report. So these tags are supplied by the publisher and are mesh terms that can be looked up in the mesh database. So you're going to hear me mention mesh and medical subject headings quite a bit as we go along. So if you're interested in learning more about mesh, please join us next week on June 17th to learn more. Okay, so I'm going to pause now to see if there's any questions out there. So Lauren, anything we need to answer or any questions?
No questions so far, but I did see somebody had raised their hand and then took it down. So
Okay.
if you want to pop it in the Q&A or unmute yourself, now's the time.
Well, I don't, yeah. Just pop it in the Q&A. I don't think we have an unmuting set, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Okay, well, if there's not any questions, then I guess that's a
Oh,
good thing.
we
Oh,
just got
wait.
one.
Okay.
What is the criteria for articles or citations to be included in PubMed?
Well, Amanda, I'm going to defer to you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple of ways that citations get into PubMed, and the decision is typically made at the level of the journal. So we're not evaluating individual articles. So first, a journal can be selected to be a part of Medline, which is an NLM database, and it makes up the majority of PubMed right now. There's a scientific and technical review process that the journals have to go through, and once they're selected for Medline, then that journal is able to start supplying citations. There's also NLM's free full text database called PubMed Central. They also have a selection process that involves a scientific and technical review of the journal. And so if they make it through that process and they want to participate in providing free full text to PMC, those records also get citations in PubMed. The third category is author manuscripts. So you may have heard of the NIH public access policy. Anyone who receives NIH funding is required by law to make that the product of their research freely available. And so if they have not published in a journal that participates in PMC, then they are required to submit an author manuscript to PMC. So it may not be the final formatted publication that you see on the publisher's website, but it is a peer-reviewed final version of the paper as well. And then there's a few other smaller categories. For example, during COVID, there was a group of journals that agreed to provide COVID-related content to PMC, and those also have citations in PubMed. But that's the majority of the ways that content makes it into PubMed. And I think that's a good summary for now, but I'll pop a link into the chat if you want to know more about where PubMed content comes from. You can read a little bit more about it.
Hey, thank you so much. Well, I learned a lot right there too. So, okay, so if there aren't any more questions about what we've already talked about, we're going to move on. So next, I'm going to take us back to the PubMed homepage, and we'll get back to the abstract view to just explore some of those features pretty soon. But let's go ahead, and the way to do that is click on the PubMed logo, and always remember this is the way to go back home or get back to the main page. So let's talk about another popular search method, and that's author searching in PubMed. So author searching is actually the #1 type of search people do in PubMed, but it can be a little bit tricky at times. And the reason is because multiple authors can share the same name, or a single author might publish under a different version of their name. So the good news is that there are a few simple techniques that you can use to get more accurate results. The most effective approach is to search using the author's last name and initials, and you can include up to 2 initials, but using just the first initial will give you the most comprehensive results. You don't need to add any tags or capitalization or punctuation. Just type the last name and a space and the initial into the search box. For example, if we are looking for articles by Toby Pillinger from our earlier example, we would type Pillinger T into the search box. So we recommend this format instead of using the author's full name, even if you know it. And that's because not all PubMed records include full author names. PubMed only began accepting full names in 2002, and not all publishers consistently provide them. So searching the full name may actually cause you to miss some really great results. So we're going to go into more detail about author searching in the automatic term mapping session, and that takes place on June 24th. So if you'd like to explore this further, please join us. Okay, so if you're following along, go ahead and type Pillinger T into the PubMed search box and click search. And this is search example B on the handout. Okay, so after we run the search, you can see there is a blue alert box that says, it looks like you're searching for an author. Results are currently sorted by best match. To see the newest results first, change the sort or order to most recent. So we're going to leave the results sorted by best match, and we'll talk about sorting a little bit later. So as you can see in the results, we have quite a few articles that could be by the Toby Pillinger that we're looking for, or Pillinger T. But remember, he's a psychiatrist at the King's College in London. So we will see some words in the title with reference to psychiatry. So here's the word antipsychotic. Here's the word antipsychotic side effect, antidepressant, etc. So I want to get us back up to the top here now. And let's take a look at this second result and see if this is one of his publications. So first of all, before we go on, tell me in the chat how you can find out this author's affiliation. Go ahead and put your answer in there. Okay. Yep. Great, great, good. Yes, so we have the two methods that I mentioned earlier, so that are in the chat. So well done, everybody. So yes, we can expand the affiliations section by clicking on the plus and see those affiliations, or we can hover over the number to the right to see the affiliation of our authors. Great, thanks so much. Okay, from here, if we want to explore more citations by this author in PubMed, PubMed has a really great feature, and that is called Computed Author Sort. So it's quite easy to use, and while you're in the abstract view for a citation, all you need to do is click the author's name. So in this case, Toby Pillinger, and let's watch how PubMed works. Okay, so we see quite a few author bolded Pillinger T in the results. So that's a good sign. And note that the alert box says the results are displayed in a computed author sort order. So the article that we clicked on now has moved from the second position to the first position. So you might wonder, well, what does this mean, or what is computed author sort? Well, because an author may have the same name as other authors, as I mentioned earlier, the object of this feature is to display additional relevant results by an author. So when you click on an author's name from within the citation, the author name disambiguation process will kick in and compare citations with the same author name. So it looks at similarities of co-authors, journal titles, article titles, affiliation, let's see, words from the abstract, mesh terms, grants, and publication dates. And notice that what it will do, well, it will take the articles that are most likely to be by your author and put them at the top. So let's talk just a bit about using the best practiced methods for computed author sort before we move on. So just remember, you want to pull up any PubMed citation in the abstract view that you might believe could be by your author, and then click the name from the abstract view, just as we did for Toby Pillinger, and then PubMed will run the specialized algorithm and cluster the results for your author toward the top of a new summary view. And that's how it works. So if you're interested in learning more about computed author sort, we include a link on the handout with more information. And before we go, I just want to point out one more thing. Not only does it tell you in the blue box here, it also is indicated in the sort by box up at the top. So if you're following along on the handout, question 2 asks, which PubMed view, summary, abstract, PubMed, or PMID do you need to be in to get the computed author sort message to appear? Well, the answer is abstract. Okay, Lauren, before we move on, is there anything else we need to address in the Q&A or in chat?
I see something in chat. Helen asked how to search recent clinical trials.
Well, I'm kind of going to get to some of that filtering. Do you want to say anything about that, Amanda, before I go on, or?
I think when you get to the filters, some of that will be
Yeah,
covered.
yeah,
And
I
then
think
if
so too. Yeah,
you'll have more questions after that, Helen, please ping us again so we can
yeah,
definitely get into it more.
yeah. But that's a great question. There's a lot going on in here. So, okay. So, well, we've looked at 2 ways to search for authors. The first one is by the last name and the first initial, and then using computed author sort from the abstract view of a known article by a specific author. So now I want to talk about another popular search method, and that's called keyword searching, and then taking that and refining the results. So we're going to go to our landing page now. Okay, so maybe you are researching a topic and you don't really know a whole lot about it, but you want to familiarize yourself with it. Or maybe you're doing a really deep dive into a very specific subject. So either way, PubMed has a few features that will make it easier for you to just type what you're looking for into the search box and retrieve relevant results. So one of the features that supports keyword searching is called Best Match Sort Order. And it's the default sort order used in PubMed. So why is Best Match the default order? Well, based on PubMed analytics and usage statistics, the overwhelming majority of users only look at the first few results and rarely, if ever, go past the first page. So one of the main goals of PubMed development is to make sure the best, most relevant research shows up right at the top. And we call it Best Match. It's a machine learning algorithm, and it places the most relevant citations based on your search terms at the top of your results. And this is also the answer to number 3 on your handout. Best Match is a machine learning algorithm that matches your search terms to the PubMed records in your results based on the article title, subject terms, and abstract, and displays them by rank with the most relevant results appearing at the top. Okay, so let me show you an example of this in action. So I'm going to search for caregiver burden Alzheimer's. This is search example C on your handout. Okay. All right. So we got 2021 results returned. So I want to point out the top, and I've kind of talked a little bit about this, the sort by feature. It's located right up here. So notice that the first 2 articles in the list were published in 2021. That's located right here. And 2022, located here. So let's say you want to change this sort order. And the way to do this is go over to the box to the right of sort by and click on the up-down arrows. And let's do a search by most recent and see what happens. And most recent in this case means most recently added to PubMed. So this could return some older citations that were recently added. But in this case, let's just notice how our order changed. So the first several citations that we see in this list were published just recently in 2026. In fact, here's June 9th. And then the one below it is June 8th. So yeah, it did a really great job of sorting these for us. So I want you to note right here, though, that the number of results has not changed. So we have the same number of results. It's just that the results are sorted differently. So the bottom line is that regardless of which sort order you apply, you will still be working with the same set of results from your search. So as you click on that, you can see there's a few other options as well. So if you want to learn more about sorting, excuse me, there's a link on the handout that explains that algorithm that I mentioned behind the best match sort. So I'm going to go ahead and return it to best match. And we'll move on. So you might be wondering, okay, what else can I do? What other searching capabilities in PubMed can I use? And there are quite a few different ones as well. So the development of PubMed has focused on taking simple keyword searches and then translating them into more elaborate, comprehensive searches. And PubMed calls this automatic term mapping. So let's go and see how this works. So PubMed has built-in tools designed to enable you to do a very broad search and then refine it by using filters. And to see this in action, let's do a search for acid reflux and explore automatic term mapping. Oh, and this is search example D from your handout. So once again, you don't need to add any of those tags or quotation marks or anything. You don't even need to know a proper scientific name to do this search. So just add those words into the search box and see what happens. So in this case, we have been returned quite a few results. In fact, close to 47,000. So in the center of the page, we have our list of results in a summary view, and that includes some key information for each article. So we have, like, for instance, the title of the article. Here's the authors. We can find journal information located right here, as well as the PMID. So as we scroll down, I just want you to notice our search terms are bolded in the citation, in the results. So, and you might notice too, there is a term, gastroesophageal reflux, and that's a term that we didn't search, but we'll talk about why that pops up in a little bit. So I want to talk now about sharing results, because as we scroll down and look at this robust return of results, you might see some that you say you might want to save or repurpose or share with someone else. Well, don't worry, PubMed's got you covered. So let's go back and explore some of that. And I do want to just say one thing before we get in and cover some of those features. Some of these features will only work when you're logged into a My NCBI account. And that is easy to set up. If you don't have one, we encourage you to create one. And we have a link to that on the handout. Because one of the nice things about this account is that you can create alerts, you can save collections of citations for yourself or to share with others. So I'll just point out that you see this box up here that indicates that I am logged into a My NCBI account. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the first result that we have in the summary view. So you'll notice to the left is the word cite. So when you click on that word, PubMed allows you to grab a properly formatted citation, and it is available in several formats. So you can copy and paste or download the citation to your computer to import into a citation management software system. And that's ability is right here. And also the citation will download as an NBIB file. An NBIB file is a PubMed bibliographic citation file, and it will download as a text file. And then you can use the contents of that as you see fit. And this is where this particular file is what you will then import into your citation management software program. Again, there's an option to change the format of the citation. And this is quite easy to do. You just click on the up-down arrow, and it gives you the option for AMA, APA, and MLA, as well as NLM. Okay, looking back at the top of the page, we see these options to save, email, and send to. So the save feature creates a file for you to download in the format of your choice. You don't have to be logged in to use it. You can choose selected citations by clicking the boxes on the left of the page or download the entire results of the page. So you can see there's a couple of boxes to do that, and then it will create a file for you. So there's a couple of things that you do need to be logged in to my NCBI to use, and I mentioned that a little bit earlier. And one of them is the email feature that's located here and the send to feature. So let's explore a little bit more of these two options. So when you're logged in, you can email the results to yourself using this email button. And again, you can select the citations that you want being selected by clicking on the box to the left. So I'll just click on one so you can see that. It'll tell you how many selections that you've chosen, or the drop-down menu allows you to pick all results. You can also change it to either summary or an abstract view. You also can include some text into the body of the email as well, if you'd like. So it's a really great way just to get those citations right to you in a really quick fashion. So also to the right, you'll see I mentioned send to. So as we open that up, we see options to send to a clipboard, my bibliography, collections, and citation manager. So the two that you need to be logged into my NCBI to use are the my bibliography and the collection options. So let's go ahead now and just take a look here. I'm going to clear that. And we're going to take a look at this first article in the abstract view. So one of the other options for saving is located here on the right-hand side of the page, and it's called permalink. When you click on this button, it will create a permanent link that will lead you back to this specific citation. It allows you to copy it right here and then paste it wherever you want to save this link. So we want to go back to our search results now, we can do a little bit more exploration there. So the easiest way to do that is navigate up to the top and you'll see the term right here, search results. So when you click on that, it's a fast way back to our acid reflux result. Also want to point out, you can sort this page by using the up-down arrows over here. You can sort by best match, most recent, publication date, author, and journal, and change the order of these nearly 47,000 results. Just remember, it's going to be the same results, just sorted differently. There's a link on the handout about saving and managing searches in NCBI if you're interested. So I invite you to check that out later. So before we move on, do we have any questions about sharing options or the available sort options?
We did get a couple come in. Helen asked, what is the difference between Medline and PubMed?
I can take that one again.
Sure. Yeah.
So PubMed's like an overarching umbrella for searching a couple of different databases, and Medline is one part of PubMed, and PubMed Central is another piece of it. I'll put one more link in the chat that kind of shows you what the relationship to each other is. It says it's for publishers, but anybody can read it, and it'll maybe help with that distinction a little bit.
We have another question from Deborah. What if the author's name is common? Like my name is Deborah Williams or Williams D. Should a middle initial be used if the author is known that way, i.e. Williams DM?
I would say that you would look at the affiliation. I would still do only first initial. What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, so author searching can be really challenging. And so the only time you want to search with only the middle initials is if you know with absolute certainty that they have always used that middle initial when they're publishing. Because if you search for the DW as the initials, but sometimes they leave the W off, then you're going to exclude all of those citations from your search. So we tell people to search for the most comprehensive results with surname and first initial. Mm-hmm. If you know someone has published under maybe a couple different versions of their names, you might want to search with all of those to try. And like Marky said, I think searching with affiliations is another way you can kind of narrow that down. If you're having trouble with your search being too broad and you're not finding the author you're looking for, I recommend just opening a help ticket with the PubMed NLM support desk. It's myself and my colleagues are there. So if you have a specific use case, we're always happy to help you troubleshoot what's going on with your search and find a solution to what you're trying to do. But if you're trying to be comprehensive, be very careful using full names and middle initials. It can really limit your results.
And we got one more question from Samantha. Has PubMed digitized old citations that were originally on microform? What is the oldest date that we could expect to find citations? I see there's something from 1916 in this search.
Yeah, so PubMed was created in 1996, but the database that PubMed makes up has existed for a very long time. Actually since like the late 1800s. And so there were librarians for many years who were creating the records for these citations, writing them out, eventually typing them. Now the journals supply the citation data to us. We're not, physically creating each record. So content does go back pretty far. Additionally, PubMed Central that I mentioned earlier, the full text database, they have a digitization project to scan and make searchable some old historical journals. So I was just looking, and currently the oldest citation we have in PubMed comes from 1781, mm-hmm. and that citation is from one of those digitized historical journals.
And we got a late breaking question from Crystal. I see from the link Amanda shared about what makes up PubMed that Medline is indexed with Mesh, but that information isn't on PMC. Does that mean PMC doesn't have Mesh?
Yes, that's a fantastic question. Only Medline citations are indexed with Mesh terms. And so that's something to keep in mind, that if you want to be searching the PMC subset as well, that you shouldn't only search with Mesh. Because you won't retrieve those citations. That's another thing, that if you have a specific search you want help with, you are always welcome to write to the help desk. We're happy to help you figure out what the best way to accomplish that is.
And that is everything.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you so much for all those great questions. We really appreciate it. Okay, so let's move on. I want to talk about two more things here about searching and kind of notifying yourself about what's going on in terms of your research query. So right below the search box, you'll notice the two words create alert. And this is for a specific search. You can do this. So this is another feature that PubMed or MindCBI account comes in handy. So creating alert will save the search to your MyNCBI account. And when you save the search, PubMed automatically emails new results as they become available on whatever schedule you choose. So basically, you could even consider doing research while you sleep, depending on the settings that you set up for your alerts. So you can see that from the top, I'm still signed into MyNCBI. And when you create the alert, it allows you to change some of the preferences. So let's take a look. So it saves the name of your search and the search terms. You can change this email. You can change the frequency, the day, etc. So it's a really great feature, and it really helps you to keep going on with your research without physically having to be in PubMed. Let's go up and look at one other feature here, and that where it says create RSS. You can use this to create a feed of your search. So new citations will show up in the feed as they're added to PubMed. So those are two really great options that really keep you up to date on what's going on. So any other questions? Anything about these two before we kind of switch gears about, and then we're going to move on to refining searches.
None so far.
All right. Okay, so notice that we have nearly 47,000 results. And so how do we narrow these search results to a more specific subset? We have this big number, and unless you're doing a big, thorough literature review, you're probably going to want to work with a smaller set of results. So and NLM data follows this and knows that most people don't go beyond the first 10 results. So with this in mind, PubMed has included this list of filters here on the left side of the results page that are an effective way to limit the results. So I just want to point out at the top where it says My Custom Filters, they've already added 4 filters that are that par the results down pretty quickly. So we're already in the all results, but you can filter by articles that are only in English, that are free full text, or those published in the last 5 years. And someone mentioned the graph seeing 1916. This is a really great option that is included. And this is to limit by using results by year. So this provides a really nice way to visualize trends in research because you can see when publications on a particular topic increase or decrease over time. So to make this graph a little bit easier to use, you can click on the Expand Collapse Timeline button, and the filter will then be displayed at the top of the results page. You can also then drag these filters in to limit your results. So we went down to just 10,000 results. When you're finished using this, you can reset the graph at any time. All you need to do is just click on Reset. And then to return it back to the left side of the menu, do the opposite here and click on the Expand Collapse Timeline. One really great feature is you can download a CSV file of the citation counts, by year. Now, this will not include the actual citations, but just the numerical results by year. So if you are tracking trends of research, this is a really great way to consolidate it in one CSV file to follow those trends in numbers. So right below that is publication date, and you can see that PubMed has already added 4 different date ranges. Many people like to limit their searches to the past 5 years. I mean, I know I do, but you can also create a custom range by clicking right here. Right below that, we see text availability. By selecting one of these checkboxes, you can restrict your search results to only articles that have links to free full text here, full text, or only those with an abstract. The next filter is called article attribute. So here we have the associated data filter, and that limits results to articles that link to more data, such as results from clinical trials, and that was mentioned earlier. So if the citation has data associated with it, associated data will also be an option in that right side page navigation column that I mentioned earlier when we were in the abstract view that allows you to jump to specific sections. So the other very popular filter within PubMed is the article type, and that will allow you to filter specific results by article type. So you can see here on the list, PubMed has put 6 default options here. So things like clinical trials located here, or randomized control controlled trial or study design. So that can help you find those specific types of research articles that are study designs. Again, this is customizable and there's a lot more article types. So let me go ahead and click on see all article types to show you what I mean. So you can see this is a really big list of options here. So for instance, let me just point a few out. Here's systematic review. Here's a scoping review. You can add clinical trial, etc. So one of the things I mentioned at the very start of this was the patient education handout filter. So I want to go ahead and click that and see what happens when we apply it. So now that you can see our results have gone from nearly 47,000 to 28 results. So before I go on, I just want to note that all of the article types that were in that list are mesh terms, and their definitions can be found in the mesh database. So make sure you come next week and learn more about mesh. A lot to learn. So let's scroll down here at the bottom because there's more filters that we can apply. So if you don't see anything in the default, you can go here and click additional filters. So say I want to further filter the patient education handouts about acid reflux to those only available in Spanish. So before I do that, I want to open this up and just show you all the different languages that are available here. So quite a few options to filter with. But in my example, I want to go ahead and click on Spanish and click on apply and see what happens to our list of results. So now you can see that we've gone to 4. So there's a green alert box that tells you which filters you have applied. So it's very handy to see what you've already used. So when you're finished with your filters and you've done whatever you need to do with your citation, there's a couple of ways to clear them. So it says clear all right here in the green box. So that's one way that's pretty quick and easy. But you can also go down to the bottom. I'm going to collapse the additional filters and click reset filter menus. So let's go ahead and confirm that. And we're back to our original nearly 47,000 results. So does anybody have any questions about using those filters? I want to make sure that we covered it, especially the question about the clinical trials and filtering.
There weren't any specific questions about filters, but Helen asked, what search terms did you use for caregivers? I think that was at the beginning of the presentation about Alzheimer's.
Yeah, what search term? I used caregiver, just the search term. I'm sorry, caregiver burden Alzheimer's. Does that answer your question?
We'll let her answer. While she's
Okay.
thinking,
Okay.
Cam asks, will you explain associated data filter again?
Sure. So maybe a quick way to do that would be go ahead and just click on it. So what this filter did is it filtered down to the 7,021 results that have associated data built into the citation or the abstract or the article. So for instance, it's probably some of these have specific study types. Am I getting that right, Amanda? Am I covering that correctly?
Yeah, the associated data filter, it returns any citations that someone has provided us with a link to some sort of secondary source data
Okay.
bank. So it can be NLM databases like we have GenBank or clinicaltrials.gov. And then there's external repositories that we link to like Figshare and Dryad as well. But typically those links are provided by the publishers or the data repositories themselves. And so it can be dependent on whether or not they supplied it to us.
And those are all the questions.
Okay. I hope that answered your question. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. And I want to talk about another something that we haven't even looked at yet. I want to show you the Advanced Search Builder, and it's located on the Advanced Search page. So you can find Advanced right under the search box on any PubMed page. So the search builder lets you search specific fields of a record, and you can also build more complex searches here. So let's go and take a look at this. Okay. So one of the things that you can do as an example here is to use the builder to find articles from a specific journal, even if you're not sure of the journal's exact name. So this all fields selector allows you to, we'll go ahead and click on that. And we're going to go ahead and click journal because we want to find some articles from a specific journal, but we don't know the exact name. So we're going to go ahead and put that into the first search box. And then you can go ahead and start typing what you know about the journal name into the search term box. And there's an auto suggest feature that will suggest journal names that exist in the database based on the information that you've provided. And then you can choose the one you want. So let's say that you're trying to find the New England Journal of Medicine. Go ahead, we've already selected journal, and start typing New England into the search box. And this is example E on your handout. So you can see the auto suggest feature has brought up the New England Journal of Medicine. So let's go ahead and click on that. So if you want all the citations from that journal, you go ahead and just click add, and that's going to put that name of the journal into your query box. But I could run my search from here by simply clicking on search, but I don't really want to do that quite yet. I also want to add, I want to add this journal to my search history. So there's a really great way to do that. It's really quick and simple. So you go over here to the search box and click add to history. So I want to do this because I'm not ready to quite search this, but I want to save it for later. So let's go ahead and do that. And you can see that it's moved it down into the history and search details box. So let's take a look at this box. It's got some great information. So what it does is it keeps track of the searches that you've run. So you can see it's kept track of everything that we've looked at so far today. It lets you jump back to the results for any of these searches, and it will retain your history for up to 8 hours of inactivity. But if you want to keep this track of this history for longer than that, you can use this download filter or feature rather, and it will download it into a CSV file. One of the other things that you can do is combine previous searches to create bigger search queries. And by combining them, it will add them to the box up above. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. So under the actions, you'll see these 3 buttons or little dots or what have you. So you can go ahead and let's go to our original search term, acid reflux. Click on that and click on add query. So it's moved acid reflux into the box up above. And then I want to explore acid reflux articles from the New England Journal of Medicine. So clicking on that again, I'm going to click on add with and. So right there, you have the ability to search those 2 together. So we could go ahead and click on search and it would run a great search for you. So before we move on, I want to show you another feature of the history and search details, and that is located under this details column. So locating our original search, go ahead and click on this arrow if you're following along with me. And you'll see how PubMed interpreted your search. So our search for acid reflux example also returned the term gastroesophageal reflux, and that's located right here. And it happens to be a mesh term, and that it is indicated by the brackets. So what this means is that even if we don't know the medical term for acid reflux, PubMed knows it, and it will map our keywords to the official medical subject headings, also known as, again, mesh terms when one exists. So PubMed is looking for citations with the medical subject heading along with our original search term, acid reflux. So remember at the beginning when we ran this, we saw the terms gastroesophageal reflux bolded in the results for our original search. And this is because that is the official medical subject heading for acid reflux. So our simple keyword search for acid reflux included gastroesophageal reflux thanks to automatic term mapping. So right now I want you to try something. Go to PubMed's homepage if you're following along with me and type in nosebleed, and that's example F on your handout. And then tell me in chat what it maps to in the search details. So I'll just give you a little bit of time to do that. Okay, wow, you guys are quick. Right, yes, indeed. It maps to epistaxis. So for those of you that aren't doing the search, let me go ahead and take you there. So there it is. It's added to our search history and search details. And when we click on the arrow, epistaxis or mesh term is the mesh term epistaxis. It also included nosebleed as well. So, basically this exercise is just, when you think about how PubMed works, know that your search terms are examined using PubMed's automatic term matching feature, and then the search details will show you what PubMed did. So it's really great to always check this out because it gives you kind of a detailed path or the way that PubMed is taking your basic terms and searching them to give you more robust results. So before we return to the main page and I show you a few more features, I want to point out the user guide, and that's located up here under the PubMed logo. So let's go ahead and click on that. So this is a pretty large guide, and as tempting as it is to try to think that you can find something in the guide using the search box, don't use that because that will search PubMed. But there is an easy way to find that, and that's to find things on a specific topic, and that's using Control F. And that will open up your search box, your find box at the bottom. And I hope you can see it. I do apologize if you can't, but in this browser, it happens to be at the bottom. So let's say I want to find proximity searching. So if I type prox into the find menu, it will take me to the, under search PubMed, it will take me to the topic of proximity searching. So I hope this helps you navigate that user's guide because it really has so much information that will help clear up any questions that you have. So I have to take that out of there and close that off. Okay. So, like I mentioned, before we kind of wrap this up today, I want to show you just a few more things from the PubMed Gov landing page. So we're going to go hop up back to the top and go right over there now. So below the fold, as we call it, there are 4 different options to learn, find, download, and explore. So the first one, Learn, has links to About PubMed, the FAQ and user guide that I just demoed, as well as finding full text. Going to the right, you can use the Find column to get to advanced search, clinical queries, or the single citation matcher. I'm going to skip over download, and if you're interested in e-utilities or FTP, I encourage you to go back and explore that on your own. And then the final one, explore, links to the MESH and journals databases. So MESH is the database of medical subject headings, and journals goes to the NLM catalog, and that includes journals referenced in the NCBI databases. You can also find journals currently indexed in Medline and journals currently deposited in PubMed Central in the NLM catalog. Also, please note that the MESH database and PubMed Central are also linked at the very bottom of every PubMed page. So scrolling down just a little bit further, the left-hand side has a column for trending articles. And just like things trend in social media, this feature is a section that highlights articles that have had a recent uptick in user activity. So it will display articles that maybe aren't necessarily the newest, but they have had a sudden increase in interest. It also allows you to see more trending articles by clicking the link below. On the right-hand side of the page, you see PubMed updates. And this feature was added at the beginning of 2025, and it replaced the latest literature feature. So PubMed updates section includes PubMed development updates and other PubMed related highlights. So we've talked a little bit about if you needed more help or you couldn't figure out how to do something or you had a specific question. Every page in PubMed has a link to help, and that's located usually at the bottom of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it will take us up to the Support Center home. So this is where you can browse the health topics. So for instance, if you want to know more about my NCBI and accounts, you can go here. You can learn more about NLM and NIH, or you can write to the help desk, as Amanda mentioned earlier, if you have a question about something specific or an author or what have you. Another good use of this write to the help desk is if you discover something that's not working, this is a great place to report issues to the PubMed development team as necessary. So before we wrap up, I'm kind of at the end of everything. I just want to make sure there's no questions before we kind of end things.
So far, no questions just yet.
Okay, that's great. All right.
Oh, one just came in.
Oh, okay.
From Bridget, I have one question about associated data. Does that mean there is data in the articles that are returned? Perhaps it is an article about a study the author conducted, or does it link out?
It's a link out to where that data is stored elsewhere, since PubMed doesn't include the full text of the paper. Sometimes if you're looking at PubMed Central, where the full text is for free, sometimes they have some of the supplementary materials available right on the record page there. But for PubMed, it is a link to where you can find that data somewhere else.
And we got another question from Beth. Does NLM have practice scenarios to practice searching PubMed?
We do have some more online tutorials that include example searches. I will pull up the link to that page. Some of it will be a repeat of what you heard here today, and some of it might be different. There we go. Drop that in the chat.
And that's all so far. Oh, Helen asked clinicaltrials.gov results versus clinical trials info in PubMed.
We do try and link between clinicaltrials.gov and the related PubMed citations wherever possible. We rely pretty heavily on the publishers to provide that kind of linking data to us, and then we have some automated processes in place that help with that. But there's no way to get it, 100% perfect. But in general, on a clinicaltrials.gov record, there will be a section that says publications, and that may include links to PubMed citations. And then on PubMed records, you may find in the associated data section, usually all the way at the bottom of the citation page, a link to a relevant clinical trial. Hopefully that answered your question.
We have one more question in the Q&A. Does PubMed have any integrations with AI agents or AI-powered research tools?
Not yet. That is something that I think is being explored at the NIH level, at a higher level, but we do not officially offer anything at this time.
And that's all that I see so far.
Yeah, I just want to put in a word. If you're interested in learning more about clinicaltrials.gov, we do have a webinar on that. And then Margot happens to be teaching that. And I'm not sure the date, but I know it's coming up. So you might want to keep your eye out for that. Okay, so since there's no more questions, we've kind of reached the end of our introduction to how PubMed works. I'm going to turn my video back on here. Okay, so at this time, we will go ahead and drop the link in the chat for the evaluation, as we mentioned. And I want to remind you that we do have 2 more live sessions in this series that focus on medical subject headings and automatic term mapping, and those will be taught by Margot. As I mentioned, this and all the other sessions in the series will be recorded and we will share back. So we'll take a little time, we'll drop that link into the evaluation, and let you have time to copy that. And we really appreciate you attending today. And oh, great, Margot dropped in the date for clinicaltrials.gov. So appreciate that, Margot. So please join us. We appreciate it. And we appreciate you coming today. So Lauren, do you have something to add?
Yeah, somebody had asked to link to the other sessions. I put them in the chat, but let me link them again.
Yeah.
There you go. Those for the other How PubMed Works sessions you can register for.
And you can always find those on our at nnlm.gov under the training section.
And I noticed somebody was asking about the evaluation link. Yep, I put it in the chat, but I will put it again. Give me one moment. There you go.
All right. Okay, well, we thank you so much for joining us today. And if you have any questions or anything that you need to know, please contact us. You'll find the link on the our email on the nnlm.gov training page for this session. And we hope to see you next week for MESH and then the following week for ATM. So appreciate it, everyone. And we can stop the recording now.
Thanks for watching. This video was produced by the network of the National Library of Medicine. Select the circular channel icon to subscribe to our channel or select a video thumbnail to watch another video from the channel.